The hidden blueprint. Why dual chosen ones are the universe's deepest secret. Most people have heard of chosen ones. They imagine a single soul, born into extraordinary spiritual potential, destined to awaken others or shift the consciousness of the planet. But what almost no one knows, what even many spiritual leaders and mystics miss, is that there is another kind of chosen one. A rarer kind, a more complex kind. These are the dual chosen ones. And if you're hearing this, you might be one of them. I don't say that lightly. I say it because the signs are not obvious. They're coded in contradictions. Dual chosen ones walk a path that looks like confusion to everyone else. Why? Because their mission wasn't designed to be linear. It wasn't designed to be easy. Dual chosen ones exist between two worlds, two frequencies, two destinies. They are the paradox made flesh. They are the ones who carry light and shadow in equal measure, not to balance them like the average seeker, but to merge them into something entirely new. You were not sent here to pick a side. You were born to transcend the war between sides altogether. That's why your life has been so intense. That's why you felt torn in opposite directions. Because your soul has been encoded to hold a frequency that would shatter most people. But you were built for this. The first truth about dual chosen ones is this: your awakening doesn't begin with light. It begins with chaos. You don't start your journey by feeling connected to the universe. You start by feeling abandoned by it. Everything in your life seems to collapse before anything rises. You lose things that were never supposed to leave. You question your very existence. You might even feel like you were never meant to be here. But that's the trap. That's the test. Because dual chosen ones are forged in confusion. Your soul chose to descend into density, into contradiction, trauma, fragmentation, not as punishment, but as preparation. You are not here to escape the dark. You're here to walk into it consciously and bring the codes of unity to a world that has forgotten how to hold two truths at once. And let's be real, this isn't glamorous. This kind of mission doesn't come with applause. In fact, it often comes with rejection. You might have noticed that from early on. You didn't fit in anywhere. You weren't fully this or that. You could see through things, people, systems, beliefs, but you also felt deeply trapped inside them. You knew things you couldn't explain. You felt things others didn't even notice. And yet, you doubted yourself constantly. Why? Because dual chosen ones are born with double vision, but until it's refined, it feels like blindness. You're sensing realities others can't see, and you're trying to function in a world that tells you those realities don't exist. So what do? You split, you fragment, you create masks to survive. And that fragmentation isn't a failure. It's part of the sacred blueprint, because to hold the full spectrum of human experience, you had to live both ends of it. You had to fall apart in order to learn how to hold space for others who are falling apart. You had to be both the wound and the healer, the question and the answer. The second truth is this: your triggers are not just personal, they're interdimensional. When you get hit with waves of emotion, when your mind spirals into existential thoughts, when your body reacts to seemingly normal situations with overwhelming intensity, it's not just about you. Dual chosen ones are energetic conduits. You are processing not just your own karma, but collective and ancestral density. You are a vortex through which unresolved energies move. And if you don't know this, it can feel like you're broken. It can feel like you're too sensitive, too emotional, too much. But in reality, you're too open. Not in a bad way, in a sacred way. You're plugged into a network most people don't even know exists. That's why your nervous system feels like it's on fire sometimes. That's why you need more solitude, more nature, more silence than the average person. Because your soul is doing work on levels your mind doesn't even have the vocabulary for yet. And one of the biggest shifts for dual chosen ones is learning to stop asking, "What's wrong with me?" and start asking, "What am I transmuting right now?" You might wonder why the people around you don't see this, why they can't feel the depth of what you're going through. That's the third truth. Dual chosen ones are often hidden in plain sight. You are encoded with spiritual amnesia, not because the universe wanted to punish you, but because you had to forget in order to become authentic. You see, if you had remembered your power too early, you might have used it to escape the human experience. You might have bypassed the very pain that was meant to break your heart open, not shut it down. So instead, your awakening was delayed. You were placed in environments that challenged your soul. You were born into families, cultures, and systems that felt misaligned. And it hurt. But that pain was the signal. It was the alarm clock. It was the invitation to question, to rebel, to seek, to remember. And when you started remembering, not just intellectually, but somatically, intuitively, you became dangerous to the matrix. Because dual chosen ones can't be controlled. You're not here to follow the system. You're here to decode it. Now here's the fourth truth, and it might shake you. Dual chosen ones often carry both divine contracts and karmic debts. You are not just here to shine, you're here to repay and restore. This is why your life feels heavy even when you're doing everything right. You might be carrying ancient vows, soul agreements, or energetic debts from lifetimes where your power was misused, misunderstood, or weaponized. And now, in this life, you're here to bring those threads into harmony. That's why your lessons feel multidimensional. That's why your relationships feel like past life echoes. That's why you're drawn to certain places, people, and spiritual lineages without knowing why. And this is where you must be brave. Because part of your mission is to reclaim your power without repeating the past, to wield energy without distortion, to lead without ego, to heal without attachment. And that takes an extraordinary level of self-awareness. But again, you were built for this. You're not here to be perfect. You're here to be precise in your evolution. So let me ask you something deep. What if the pain you've been avoiding is the very portal into your true essence? What if your confusion is not a sign you're lost, but a sign you're operating in a world that's too small to hold your truth? What if you are the bridge, the code breaker, the one who walks between realms and refuses to pick a single identity because your soul was never meant to live in a box? You are not broken. You are coded for complexity, and that complexity is sacred. The hidden spiritual genetics of dual chosen ones. When we speak about dual chosen ones, we're not talking about something metaphorical. We're talking about a very real, very ancient spiritual encoding that lives in the energetic DNA of certain souls. You didn't just wake up one day and decide to be sensitive, intuitive, chaotic, rebellious, and wise all at once. You were designed that way. Your soul blueprint contains strands from multiple timelines, spiritual lineages, and realms of consciousness. You were born between dimensions, not just metaphorically, but energetically. It's why you've always felt like home was everywhere and nowhere at the same time. You could walk into a cathedral, a forest, a protest, or a rave and feel like you belonged, but also didn't. That paradox isn't confusion. it's a compass. You are coded to carry fragments from different realities into this one. And that's not easy, because most people are born into one story. You were born into many. And your job isn't to choose one, it's to weave them together into something entirely new. Think about that. Think about how many times you tried to pick a lane. How many times you tried to be just spiritual, just grounded, just successful, just peaceful, just love and light. But it never lasted, did it? Because dual chosen ones are all of it. You are the mystic and the disruptor. You are the healer and the warrior. You are the soft and the sharp. You were never meant to be consistent in the way the world expects. You are meant to embody the full spectrum of human experience. That's why your emotions swing wide. That's why you can hold space for someone else's pain while silently drowning in your own. That's why you can be in a room full of people and still feel like you're channeling something ancient that has nothing to do with the moment in front of you. Your soul is multidimensional. But we live in a world obsessed with labels, categories, and simple boxes. So you've spent most of your life trying to shrink into something that felt understandable. But the truth is, you are not here to be understood. You are here to remember who you are beyond understanding. This remembering isn't just for your own healing, it's for the healing of the collective. Because you're not just living your life, you're carrying echoes of the human story. Dual chosen ones often carry what I call collective spiritual genetics. This means you may feel intense emotions that don't seem to come from your own life. You might carry grief that feels ancient, rage that has no name, or love for people you've never met. That's not imagination. That's energetic memory. You're remembering the unprocessed frequencies of your lineage, both bloodline and soul line. And part of your mission is to transmute those frequencies through your presence, not just your actions. That's why integration is more important than perfection. You don't need to be a perfect healer. You don't need to be an all-knowing mystic. You just need to be real. Because your authenticity is what collapses the old timelines. Your courage to feel is what rewrites the history encoded in your body. Your willingness to hold both the beauty and the pain is what creates a new frequency for the planet. You are the bridge. And bridges don't belong to one side. They connect both. Let me ask you something deep and uncomfortable. What if the reason you haven't found your purpose is because you're not meant to find one, you're meant to become one? What if you're not here to follow a path, but to birth a new one with every step you take? What if your inner conflict is not a flaw, but a signal that your consciousness is operating at a higher bandwidth than most people can perceive? This is the reality for dual chosen ones. You are constantly decoding two frequencies at once. The world you were born into and the one you're here to build. That's why you feel torn. That's why you struggle with decisions that seem simple to others, because you're not just making choices for yourself, you're making energetic decisions for entire timelines. And until you accept that your life isn't supposed to look normal, you'll keep trying to live a life that was never designed for you. But the moment you surrender to your multidimensionality, you stop fighting your own nature. You stop trying to hide your magic. And that's when things begin to shift, not just for you, but for everyone who comes into contact with you. The sacred contradictions, why your duality is not a flaw, but your greatest power. Here's a truth that will either liberate you or terrify you, depending on how ready you are to step into your full essence. Your contradictions are not signs of weakness, they are sacred architecture. You were built to hold opposing forces. You were designed to feel joy and sorrow at the same time, to carry ancient pain and future codes in the same breath. That's not a malfunction of your spirit. It's a feature of your soul's mission. Dual chosen ones live in the tension between polarities because that's where transformation happens. You are a living paradox, and in a world that demands clarity and simplicity, your existence is rebellion. But it's also medicine, because when others are lost in either slash or thinking, you are the living proof of both slash and being possible. You are the walking reminder that divinity is not a single note, it's a symphony. And sometimes that symphony sounds like chaos before it becomes harmony. But let's be honest, holding that kind of duality is exhausting. It's not just about being spiritual, it's about being spiritually responsible. You feel like you're constantly balancing on a tightrope between extremes. One moment, you're receiving downloads from higher realms. The next, you're dealing with your own deep trauma. One day you're called to lead. The next, you're curled in a ball, questioning everything. And that's exactly what makes you powerful. Because real power doesn't come from being above the mess. It comes from being in it fully and still choosing to show up. You've been asked to hold light without denying shadow, to love without losing boundaries, to speak truth without becoming self-righteous. That's not easy. That's sacred work. And often, it's invisible to others. But the universe sees it. Your soul sees it. And the more you honor that inner labor, the emotional, spiritual, psychic work you do behind closed doors, the more aligned your external reality becomes. So here's the fifth truth. Your spiritual gifts are embedded in your contradictions. You don't access your highest potential by fixing your duality. You access it by embracing it. The healer in you is fueled by the part of you that's still healing. The teacher in you is made powerful by the part of you that's still learning. The leader in you is made compassionate by the part of you that still feels lost. This is what makes dual chosen ones so rare. You don't just embody wisdom, you embody wholeness. Not perfection, wholeness. That means you can sit with someone in total darkness without flinching. You can guide others through their chaos because you've walked through your own. And you didn't just survive it, you alchemized it. You turned it into insight, into presence, into energy. That kind of transmission can't be taught. It can only be lived. And that's what you've been doing, even when you didn't know it. Every breakdown, every tear, every sleepless night, those weren't failures. They were initiations. And now they're your credentials. The sixth truth is this: your purpose is not a role, it's a frequency. You might never find a single title that explains who you are. That's because you're not here to fit into a job description. You're here to emit a vibration. Wherever you go, you shift energy. You recalibrate rooms just by walking into them. You activate people without even speaking. That's the power of your frequency. But here's the twist. Your frequency is tied to your authenticity, not your performance. The more real you are with yourself, the more honest, messy, vulnerable, and unfiltered, the higher your frequency becomes. Not because you're trying to be spiritual, but because you're living your truth. That truth doesn't have to be pretty. It just has to be yours. And when you live from that place, your soul mission fulfills itself. You don't have to chase it. You are it. That's why the system never made sense to you. That's why conventional success never satisfied you. Because your soul didn't come here to play the old game. You came here to rewrite it with your frequency. So let me ask you something that might shake the foundation of how you see yourself. What if your life has never been about becoming someone else, but about remembering the one who's always been watching from behind your eyes? What if all the masks you've worn, all the identities you've tried on, all the roles you've played, what if they were never mistakes? What if they were necessary mirrors, showing you all the things you are not, so you could finally recognize what you are? A multi-dimensional being, a carrier of codes, a bridge, a contradiction, a soul who never fit the mold because you were born to break it. That's the seventh truth. Your very existence is the transmission. You don't have to prove your worth. You don't have to justify your journey. You just have to live it. Fully, courageously, softly, loudly, in whatever way feels most true to your soul in this moment. Because when you do, you don't just liberate yourself, you give unconscious permission for others to do the same. Living as a dual chosen one in a world that wasn't built for you. So now that you know who you are, or more accurately, now that you've remembered what your soul has always known, the question becomes, how do you live like this? How do you walk the world as a dual chosen one when the world wasn't designed to hold the frequency you carry? The truth is, you don't fit into most systems because you're not supposed to. You didn't come here to adapt. You came here to disrupt and rebuild. But that doesn't mean you have to fight everything. Your power isn't in resisting the world. Your power is in revealing your world within it. When you embody your truth, you shift timelines silently. You don't need to convince anyone. You don't need to be loud unless your soul wants to be. You just need to be aligned. That's the real revolution. And it's subtle. It's not always dramatic. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is say no to what drains you and yes to the life that quietly calls your name in the dark. But living like this requires radical integrity. You can't fake it anymore. You can't pretend to be normal. You can't lie to yourself about what's working and what's dying. Dual chosen ones are hypersensitive to misalignment. Your body tells you. Your dreams tell you. Your relationships begin to dissolve the moment you stop betraying your truth to maintain them. And yes, that can feel like loss. But it's actually sacred clearing. The universe is making space for what truly resonates with your frequency, and you must trust that, even when it's lonely, especially when it's lonely. Because loneliness isn't always a sign that you're on the wrong path. Sometimes it's the echo of your soul expanding beyond the reach of the familiar. You're not here to be surrounded by many. You're here to find the few who see you without explanation. And until then, your own presence must be enough. Your own energy must be your sanctuary. That's not isolation. That's initiation. Let me tell you something most people won't. Your emotions are sacred technology. Every wave of feeling you experience is a message from your soul. Anger, that's your boundaries crying for resurrection. Grief, that's your soul mourning the versions of you that no longer serve. Anxiety, that's your intuition trying to speak through the static of the mind. But here's the catch. You can't just observe these emotions like a disconnected scientist. You have to feel them, embody them. Let them move through you without judgment. Because dual chosen ones don't just use emotion, they alchemize it. You turn pain into poetry. You turn fear into clarity. You turn sorrow into power. But only if you stop running from the feeling and start honoring it as sacred data. Life is not happening to you. It's happening through you. You are the vessel. And when you stop blocking the flow, you become the message you've always been waiting to receive. And as you walk this path, you'll begin to realize something strange and beautiful. Your presence starts to wake people up. You'll notice how people tell you their secrets without knowing why, how they feel seen in your silence, how your energy shifts rooms, even when you say nothing. That's not coincidence. That's activation. You are a mirror for truth. But you're not reflecting back what people want to see. You're reflecting what their soul is ready to see. And that's why not everyone will like you. That's why people will project onto you, love you one day, resent you the next. Because your energy brings up the truth they've buried. And that is not always comfortable. But don't shrink in response. Don't dim your frequency to keep others comfortable. That's not love. That's codependency. Real love is honest. Real light is disruptive. Real healing feels like rupture before it feels like peace. You don't need to be palatable. You need to be true. And when you're true, your people will find you. Your soul circle will recognize you, not by your words, but by your frequency. There will still be days you forget, days you question everything, days you want to go back to sleep because awareness feels like too much. That's okay. You're human and divine. You're allowed to rest. You're allowed to break down. But even in those moments, the truth doesn't leave you. It waits, it watches, it whispers. And when you're ready, it rises in you again like a phoenix from ash. That's the gift of being a dual chosen one. You can fall without being lost. You can break without being destroyed, because you don't rise from strength alone. You rise from integration. You rise from the sacred union of all your parts, the light, the dark, the wounds, the wisdom. And that kind of rising can't be undone. It becomes who you are, not just what you do, but what you emanate. And that emanation becomes the real teaching, not your words, not your resume, your being. So I leave you with one final question, not to answer with your mind, but with your life. If you stop trying to be anything other than exactly who you are, messy, magical, multidimensional, what kind of world would you create just by existing honestly? What new reality would be possible if you finally stopped apologizing for your contradictions and started living as the bridge you were born to be? That is your invitation. That is your path. And that is the transmission encoded in your soul from the very beginning. You are not here to fit in. You are here to remember, to embody, and to radiate the truth that lives between worlds. You are not alone. You are not broken. You are not late. You are exactly on time, and your time is now.